Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Shifty's Club. Last week, I went over the bets I would make. I did end up taking a rush prop in the Ravens game that ended up winning, so the line I gave to fill it in was rather senseless, and I do apologize. However, if you want instant updates on all bets I make, you should join the Shifty's Club Discord channel. I'll post a link down below so you can get instant free access to all the updates to what bets I make. Anyway, before I get started, let's go over last week's results. Luckily, I didn't lose a single NFL bet. I went 5 and 0. Kyler Murray had 5 carries for 41 yards, giving my 4 or more at minus 313 the win. James Cook rushed for a TD, giving me the win on one or more TDs scored at minus 200. The rush prop I took ended up being Lamar Jackson over 28 rush yards at minus 431, and he got 48. My Sunday night bet was Packers first to score 20 at minus 233, and they in fact did. Lastly, my Monday night bet was Dolphins team over 23 and a half, and they scored 27. All in all, I had a wonderful week. The college games didn't turn out as I hoped. Sadly, Florida State gave up a few turnovers early that gave Virginia momentum. Plus, there were turnovers deep in their own territories, so that was a huge bust. I have no faith in Castellanos after what I've seen in the game. Sadly, for the 10:30 game, Dean Connors got injured partway through the game, and that bust a player prop faster than a Volkswagen van bust a beer bottle. Saturday, Haynes King did in fact rush for at least one touchdown. He got two. The 330 bet was the biggest fluke of the week. Tesca should have had it 3 rushing touchdowns, but the damn offensive coordinator kept having Horvath run it in. They failed miserably on multiple occasions. Tesca sadly only had 11 rushes, but got 104 yards and no touchdowns. Yeah, the offensive coordinator needs his ass fired. Anyway, Memphis hit the minus 13 and a half and blew out FAU. Sadly, though, BYU laid a huge turd this past weekend. Bachmeyer had several opportunities to get a rushing touchdown, but sadly, their O-line shat the bed worse than a fat kid in a mental institute. Anyway, that's it for what happened this weekend. Now to get to the picks for this upcoming weekend. First, we got a Thursday night game with the Niners and the Rams. Keep in mind that Purdy's questionable, and that should play a huge role in how their offense will operate, mostly because their backup is Mac Jones, and his play style is very different from Purdy's. You do have McCaffrey ready to go, but several questionable players at the receiver position. Um, I believe the Rams will enter the game focusing on slowing down the run and most probably blitzing 5 or more players on most downs, keeping McCaffrey at bay and forcing an injured Purdy or Jones to put the ball in the air. Now, while I do believe he can very well get the short yardage passes, I'm not convinced that Jones will be able to effectively utilize the deep ball with so many questionable receivers. He does have good stat lines from his games versus the Saints and the Cards this season, but they both suck. Um, the good thing, though, is that the Rams are very healthy. Stafford is doing well. Kyron Williams is averaging 75 yards a game in a rather consistent fashion. The only questionable O lineman outside of Tyler Higbee, I don't really consider tight ends linemen, is Rob Havenstein. However, I have all the faith that in Warren McClendon to be able to take over and effectively protect Stafford. By the way, if you didn't know, both Stafford and McClendon are UGA grads. The Rams D looks solid. If Kendricks isn't able to go, Jalen McCullough will probably have to step in, and that might create a matchup scenario that's a complete nightmare in the deep game. Don't get me wrong, he is good. He's been in the league for 2 years straight out of Tennessee, and boy, was he good with them. But he's more of a robber safety or a blitzer contact player. Anyway, I say all that to say this: Frisco has more injuries than a hospital, and that's ultimately going to lead to their demise. Keep in mind, most of the injuries are questionable, but this ultimately means that players aren't 100% and will more than likely not be able to effectively produce at the level of their opponents. I'm not promising anything, but that's how it looks. Expect McCaffrey to get several opportunities in a rush attack, but expect the Rams to be able to effectively slow it down to a degree. Now, I believe the Rams will be able to win, and they will do it in fashion. And I want to take Stafford to throw for at least 2 touchdowns at minus 152, but the better option seems to be taking a McCaffrey at least 15 carries at minus 233. The at least 17 is at minus 109. But you know me, I like to take the lowest number I can get, gives better odds. Anyway, sorry for the long drawn out analysis, but I hope it helps you better understand my point of view or the way my pro sports better things. The Friday night game should be easy, but I saw what happened last week. Luckily, I survived with a grand total of about $550 net, so we're doing all right. The first game is Charlotte at Florida. The Bulls have proven their worth in the American, and Charlotte's yet to prove their worth in the FBS, let alone the conference. We've seen how well the Bulls' defense handles pressure of the Florida Gators and the Boise State Broncos, but their loss to Miami was nothing short of the fact that Miami is without a doubt my pick to be the national championship versus Texas this year. Assuming Texas can actually finish drives, unlike against Ohio State, they literally had multiple goal line stands and they couldn't convert TDs, and that costed them. Anyway, we all know how wonderful Mac Harris has been, and every team that goes against him has to scheme around arguably the second best linebacker in the nation. No joke. I'd honestly take him in the top 10 of the draft in 2026. I think he's that freaking good. Watch the Jags end up drafting him. They probably will, though, unless he's taken before then. Anyway, Brown has done a decent job passing, only sacked 7 times. He's shown that he can make quick decisions based on initial reads and a quick rescan. He's fairly good at being able to scramble as needed. Sadly for Isaac, he hasn't gotten the carries he would want, being the young but talented running back he is. Franklin and Norton have had their share of the glory, but don't expect either of them to make it to the NFL post-college. Charlotte will have to rely more on Nicholas or McGee in this game because we all know that Jai Mason will be covered by James Chanel. That's just not a fair matchup either. Once it gets closer to game time, more props might open up, and this is where I tell everyone, join the Shifties Club Discord. This is where all of my sports betting updates take place. And it's great to watch this video to get ideas and prepare for the week ahead. And I hope everyone does and subscribes, but knowing is half the battle, and being aware is the other half for sports betting. With that being said, my pick as of right now would be South Florida first half spread of 15.5. If I don't see any props I like closer to game time, this will be my bet. Now at 10:30 we have two options, and both are not that great. We got West Virginia BYU and Colorado State San Diego State. First off, West Virginia is bottom of the barrel bad this year. They got destroyed by half-assed teams that can't perform in the moment, despite having 98 rushing yards in the Colorado game. Bachmeier had no rushing touchdowns, and that was a huge fluke. 1%er type bad. Um, Now, hoping the game of the was fluke of the year, I would take Bachmeier to actually rush for a touchdown in this game. Keeping in mind that the Mountaineers have been bad about giving up this many freaking points against teams that are half-assed or better, but they failed to score against the likes of Kansas and Utah. Now, this initially gives me the impression that BYU spread might hit, but sadly, BYU hasn't been scoring a ton of points. They've been focusing on the rush attack and bleeding the clock, meaning that the odds of the -19 spread hitting isn't very good. But sadly, neither is the +19 of West Virginia. Let's face facts. They could get shut out and they could actually score. Uh, Plus, BYU could turn it over deep in their own territory, giving West Virginia a chance to beat the spread. And that's why I don't like it. But I'm very willing to give Bachmeier a shot at getting the rushing touchdown this time because the team against which he's playing just isn't built to beat the power behind the rush attack, including the strength of the O-line. So I'll be taking the Bachmeier touchdown prop of at least one at -167. The Saturday games look favorable to me this week. All I got to hope for is that I don't have the bad luck of someone dancing on a crack while under a ladder and holding a black cat. Yeah, I don't even know what kind of bad luck that is. But yeah, uh, the first bet jumps out to me is the Adam Randall touchdowns prop of at least one. Clemson versus UNC. While Clemson hasn't been able to prove their worth, because let's face it, they've got none, they do focus their attention on one back, Randall. And he is more than likely going to tear UNC a new one. Given he's rushed for at least one touchdown in every game this year except Syracuse, I expect them to focus their time and energy on him, specifically because UNC will be able to answer Clemson effectively. The reason Clemson stopped rushing during the Syracuse game is because they fell so far behind that they needed to rely on Klubnik to speed up the process, and in doing so, ended up turning the ball over, completing only 60% of his passes and failing to post a win against the ACC rival. Anyway, Randall did score a receiving touchdown that game, so he gets a huge buff in my stats analysis. Um, this game isn't going to be fun to watch, but it should be the easiest bet on to make for any 12 o'clock game on Saturday. So I'll be taking Adam Randall to have at least one touchdown at minus 334. Keep in mind, I'll be focusing my attention on the UGA game, but this game will be on a separate screen to keep up with it. Now, the 330 game seems very interesting at first. You got 14 of them, and 4 look like solid options based purely on matchups. The first one that comes to mind is obviously Penn State UCLA. We could pretty much write Penn State as the winner, but not a lot of you would bet on 30 to 1 odds, meaning you're 30 to the casino's 1. I do, and I have many, many times in the past, and never lost even once. However, this is for you guys, and I try to be a lot more reasonable with how non-analytical and non-mathematical minds interpret sports betting. So, out of all of the other games I see that has the most interesting matchup assumptions is the Texas-Florida game. Obviously, we know how dominant the Horns have been in every game they played this season, including the loss to Ohio State. They should have easily won, but lost to multiple goal line stands by the Bucks. Um, Even though Florida didn't play against LSU and Miami, I wasn't impressed at all with how poorly DJ Lagway played so far this season. He's making so many horrible decisions. He's throwing in a double coverage just to try to connect with his number one receiver. He's holding the ball in the pocket for way too long, and it's why he's already has 9 sacks this season. He's thrown more INTs than TDs, and sadly, 3 of those TDs were against LIU. Um, I don't see Florida doing anything in this game unless they're somehow able to either produce turnovers on defense or Texas makes grave mistakes on offense. The only thing is that Florida's defense has been very lackluster. Even the game versus South Florida, I didn't see anything that would cause me to think Texas would run over them like Katie Seagal. Okay, if you laughed at that joke, you remember that from 4 years ago. Congrats. Anyway, I expect Arch to do well in both the passing game and the running game because of how often the Horns get to the 1 or 2 yard line. I would expect them to do what they always do, have Arch sneak it in. Um, the Horns O line is large and powerful. Part of the reason Texas was so successful moving the ball downfield, it's just that they were unable to finish in too many cases. However, the Gators D line and even the backers shouldn't be too much of a problem. I see Arch Manning touchdowns prop of at least one at plus 140. Now, keep in mind, this does not include passing touchdowns. And I do expect him to get this, but I will update everyone in Discord on my final betting decision closer to game time. There are 7 o'clock bets that stick out to me, but there is a 7:30 one that does. And if it wins fast enough, then it'll let me know what I need to bet for the 10:30 game. This one's pretty much an easy call. I fully expect Miami to win a close the game, or even like 14 or 7 by 14 or 17. But I will expect FSU to score. Keep in mind, Miami isn't a super team that will shut out FSU. Notre Dame game Miami problems, and the rest of Miami's opponents outside of South Florida were cakewalks, especially Florida. I truly think everyone is too scared to take any touchdown props in this game, but I 100% believe that Gavin Sawchuk will score a touchdown in this game at home with the 12th man behind him. He's had at least one rushing touchdown in every game this season. He puts up the numbers almost every game, lately going for 97 and 74 in the last 2 games. Don't expect the rush attack to be halted. Miami hasn't been truly tested this year, and this might be the test that ultimately decides their fate. Keep in mind, FSU isn't a joke. Their massive amount of mistakes against Virginia caused them to lose. If they fix those, it should be a better game. But last week was truly the biggest fluke they will have this year. Now expect Gavin Sawchuk to have at least one touchdown in this game, and that will be my bet. Gavin Sawchuk to have at least one touchdown at minus 125. The 10:30 game should be one that everyone is on board with me. We can pretty much agree that Fresno State will beat Nevada by more than 2 touchdowns. I don't even know why it's only at 13 and a half. I really don't. Like, Nevada has struggled against the likes of Sacramento State and Middle Tennessee State, both horrible teams. I can't say anything about Western Kentucky. They aren't horrible, but they're not Penn State, which is the other loss. um, However, Fresno State has proven that they can dominate the worst and have success against the rest. Keep in mind, their only loss this year was week one to Kansas, and they were not completely healthy for that one. Um, they are 95% injury free, and they should easily dominate the Wolfpack this coming weekend. EJ Warner's played mistake-free football over the last 2 weeks, doing an excellent job getting the ball downfield to Freeman and Avit. Even Beecham, the tight end. Um, I know Donaldson and Luke will have their moments to shine, and hopefully, for the sake of the Dogs, they produce as many TDs in this game as they have been producing this season. Anyway, I'm taking the FSU spread of minus 13.5 for the game. Sunday's games have me scratching my head, and it's not very pretty. We have a 9:30 game in England, and this game is not one in which I'm confident. However, I do need a bet on it to keep stride on my method and maximize my winnings. The first thing that worries me is that Flacco is still playing. He's old, he's past his prime, and it's not that hard to find reasonable talent. Since you're already losing, just draft Diego Pavia out of Vanderbilt. He's by far the best fit for your organization without any doubt. I'll let him sit behind Gabriel for a year or two, learn the system, and have Flacco be his mentor slash trainer. Um, he's already making millions on your payroll. Have him be the most useful or kick him off. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been there and done that, but he's simply past his prime and at the cliff of his playing career. Anyway, I don't see the Browns being able to do much. McCarthy is doubtful for the Vikings, and that means Wentz will more than likely be the option for this game. Keep in mind, while the Vikes did blow out the Bengals with the Wentz sub in, they did lose to the Steelers with Wentz going 30 for 46 with 350 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 6 times. 4 were his fault. The real game plan for the Vikes is going to be the run game. Jordan Mason has put up numbers in his most successful games this season. Hopefully, O'Connell will see the game that Flacco gives the Browns an op to utilize Mason more. However, it still isn't enough to believe he will rush for at least one touchdown in this game. Nevertheless, it's forecasted to be over 25-mile-an-hour winds in England that day and only 18% chance of rain, and the stadium has no roof. Therefore, the only reasonable bet I can make is Jordan Mason touchdowns at least one at minus 125. The best 1 o'clock game on which to bet is the Raiders Colts game. Obviously, Geno Smith is more INTs than TDs, and that's very upsetting to the fans. Genty is off to a slow start because his O line isn't giving him the best opportunities to run the ball effectively. However, for some unknown reason, Daniel Jones is making the best of his situation in Indy. Good for him. He's passed for 1 touchdown in every game this year with only INTs. Both against the Rams, who have a terrific defense. He's kept his QB rating above 100 in each win this season, and I expect him to carry that over in with him back home against the Raiders. Um, Lucas Oil Stadium can be a very difficult place to play if you are the Colts. So expect a lot of problems. Um, on the Raiders' especially the sorry, pathetic, mistake-ridden O-line. Forsyth has been nothing short of a clown this season. Meredith has been very disappointing. Glaze, well, let's just say he's young and stupid. Um, it's been a complete circus in Vegas um, this year, and if you're offended by my interpretation of the Raiders, you're a sorry Raiders fan stuck in dreamland. Let's be realistic. Um, the props for pasta touchdowns isn't yet out yet, but if the line is low enough, I'll take the Daniel Jones pass touchdown prop of at least one. Otherwise, I'm taking the Colts adjusted spread of 6.5 at minus 118. Um, the 4 o'clock bet that catches my eye is the Bucks Hawks game, specifically the Baker Mayfield passing touchdown prop of at least one. I can't say for sure what it will be at the moment, but if it's good enough odds for you, I'd take it. Outside of the one specifically, I can't really come across anything else on which I would ride or die my money. The next closest thing, in case Mayfield pass touchdown prop is odds isn't in your comfort zone, is the Lions Bengals game. Now, I don't like either Gibbs or Montgomery in the touchdown prop, mainly because they split the duties almost equally, and for both of them to score in the same game has only happened in 2 of the 4 games this year, one of which neither has scored. It's not out to happen, but stuff like this is why I don't mess with the UGA running back TD props. What I do like though is the spread. 10.5 for the game is a very favorable and reasonable bet. If you want better odds, this is definitely the bet, but I wouldn't take it over the Mayfield passing TD prop of at least one. Either way, the decision is up to you. Our Sunday night game is much more favorable because it sticks out like a sore heel, or at least the bet itself. I took it last week and I'm taking it this week. I got the James Cook rushing touchdown prop of at least one, and keep in mind the talent on New England defense is very lackluster. They have more holes than Swiss cheese. They have more penalties than a park and rec team. They don't have any hope in the near future. Let's be honest. Their 3-4 defense is a joke. Tonga, the starting nose tackle, has only 3 tackles this season. All were in one game. The other 3 hasn't done anything. He's pathetic. Barmore has had 5 in Vegas as well, but failed to get more than 2 in the last 3 games. And the only player not shitting the bed is Milton Williams. And he isn't going to be able to stop Cook with Dawkins in front of him, and even Edwards isn't a good matchup for him. The only way he's performing is by swapping the left end and matching up against Spencer Brown, but we all know Vrabel isn't a smart dude. He's got less sense than a joke without a punchline. Um, yeah, I know. That was funny. With all that being said, I'm taking James Cook prop at least 1 TD for whatever the line is. The Monday night game is a complete joke. While it will be 80 and humid, more than likely, according to AccuWeather forecast, it will be raining, and we know how horrible the Jags' run game is. Travis Etienne may not be the worst running back in the league, but he's certainly far from great. While he hasn't had a ton of time to develop in the league, it certainly shows on the field and on the stat sheet. Walker Little is a decent left tackle, and Hainsey has somewhat proven himself since coming out of Notre Dame. But for the rest of them, Ezra Cleveland is a joke and a half. McCarty has been horrendous, and don't get me started on Harrison. God, he sucks. Granted, he hasn't had a lot of time to develop, but we're like, okay, you're good at Oklahoma, so you have to be good here. Nope. Their wins against the Panthers and Texans were not impressive, and they got the coin flip of their life in Frisco. Their offense didn't win them that game. The Niners turned the ball over like no tomorrow, and the Jags D won that game. Sorry, Jags fans, I'm right, and you know it. Frisco had 2 fumbles, 2 INTs, and a turnover on downs, and that's how the Jags won. Now let's turn our attention over to the Chiefs. Pat Man will more than likely have multiple passing TDs, um, but for sure will almost have at least one. Expect him to have at least 30 or 40 yards on the ground against the likes of Walker, Olakun, Lloyd. They won't be able to hold off Jawan Taylor, Creed Humphrey. Josh Simmons is quite new, and Mahomes knows this. He's prepared for Simmons to give up numerous blitz attempts, and we all know how well Mahomes can avoid pressure when he's focused. Expect Mahomes to get it done in the air early and focus on the ground late game. Pacheco and Hunt have only 1 touchdown between them this season through 4 games. I'll look for Mahomes to do what he does best, assuming the passing TD prop is at least 1 and isn't around minus 1,000. I'll take that for him in this game. But if it is, I'll probably take the team over of 24.5. Outside of those two, I wouldn't be able to make an accurate prediction. Now, keep in mind, um, the weather is a very awkward, very necessary factor to include in analyzing game predictions or their factor prop or their props. Anyway, that's it for this week's bets. And as you all know, if you stayed for the whole thing, please let me know in the comments how you enjoyed it. Anyway, guys, make sure you bet responsibly. Never bet more than you can afford to lose, because at the end of the day, anything can happen and nothing is guaranteed in life except death. So I ask that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time at Shifty's Club.